All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about the new face of cyber fraud today. And believe me, it's a world where what's real and what's fake is getting incredibly hard to tell apart.
So just imagine that for a second. That's a scenario straight from PwC. A senior exec you trust gives the okay for a big money transfer, and then poof, the money's just gone. And the scary part, this isn't some far-off hypothetical what if. It's a real and frankly a rapidly growing threat. So you have to ask yourself, right? Is this stuff just science fiction? Or is it the next big crisis that's about to land in your company's inbox? Well, here's the uncomfortable truth. For a whole lot of businesses out there, this isn't a movie plot, it's happening right now. And the consequences are, well, they're devastating.
Look, we've come a long, long way from the days when all you had to do was spot a phishing email with a bunch of typos. The new face of fraud, it's incredibly sophisticated, it's deeply personal, and it's being powered by technology that not too long ago was literally the stuff of sci-fi.
At its heart, what we're really talking about here is impersonation fraud. But here's the game changer. You throw AI and deepfake technology into the mix, and suddenly, criminals can create these super convincing copies of people's voices, their faces. It makes it almost impossible to tell what's real and what's just an elaborate high-tech lie.
Okay, so if we're going to figure out how to defend ourselves, we first have to understand the battlefield. And right now, this new war is being fought on two totally different fronts with some pretty scary new weapons. And this is where it gets really interesting. Think of it like a two-pronged attack. On one side, you've got silent intrusions. These are the sneaky ones that can get in without you even clicking on anything. But on the other side, you've got hyper-social engineering. And this one is all about getting past the tech to manipulate the one thing you can't just patch with a software update: human trust. So let's break down those silent attacks first. You've got these things called zero-click attacks, and they are every bit as sneaky as they sound. Basically, a hacker finds some tiny hidden flaw in your phone software, and bam, they can slip in malicious code without you ever clicking a bad link or opening a weird attachment. It's like an invisible invasion of your device. And there's another kind of silent threat. But this one actually starts from the inside. It's called shadow IT. All that means is your employees are using apps or devices for work that haven't been approved by the company. You know, it seems harmless enough, right? But the problem is, every single one of those unsanctioned tools is like leaving an unlocked back door to your entire network, just wide open for an intruder to wander in. Okay, so if those silent intrusions are like a burglar picking a lock, then hyper-social engineering, well, that's like being charmed into handing over the keys by someone you think is a trusted friend. This is that second front we were talking about, and this is where it gets deeply personal. Scammers are now using AI-powered deepfakes to do more than just trick you. They're using them for some serious emotional manipulation. They're trying to bypass your logical brain by hitting your sense of urgency, your sense of duty, your trust. They make a request from a fake boss feel so incredibly real that saying no feels almost impossible. So you're probably wondering, how on earth does one of these advanced heists actually play out? You know, a lot of the fear comes from not knowing. So let's pull back the curtain and break down a deep fake attack, step by painful step. And it's so important to get this straight. A deepfake heist isn't just some random lucky shot in the dark. No way. It is a carefully planned, sophisticated operation from start to finish. Let's walk through the playbook because you'll see just how methodical this is. It all starts with step 1, intelligence gathering. Scammers are basically digital stalkers. They're all over social media, company websites, news reports, anything they can find to learn about your top executives, how they talk, how they look, what their job is. Next, step 2, tech prep. They take all that data and feed it into their AI tools to start building the deepfake videos and cloning the voices. Now, step 3 is absolutely critical. Trust building. They don't just jump in with the big ask. They'll start by sending a few normal-looking emails to someone, maybe a mid-level manager, just to get a credible conversation going. Then they move to step 4, voice cloning. They'll set up a phone call using that AI-generated voice of the boss. This just lowers the target's defenses even more, and it sets the stage for the grand finale, which is step 5, video deception. We're talking a full-on video conference with a deep-faked executive, talking about some top-secret, urgent deal. And of course, this is all building to the final move, step 6, the fund transfer request, the big ask, an urgent, high-pressure demand to move a whole lot of money right now. So here's the really clever and frankly devious part of this. So here's the really clever and frankly devious part of this. While the scam is impersonating the CEO or the CFO, the person they're actually targeting and manipulating is often a trusting mid-level employee in the finance department. They're exploiting that person's natural desire to be helpful and do their job well to completely sidestep all the security protocols you thought you had in place. Okay, so that's the problem. And I know, it sounds pretty scary, but it is not hopeless. So let's switch gears and talk about the solution. How do you actually build a digital fortress that's strong enough to stand up to these kinds of modern attacks? All right, first things first, the technical basics are absolutely non-negotiable. You have to, and I mean have to, keep all your software updated. Every single patch you install closes a potential door for these attackers. Next, you need layers of security, firewalls, antivirus, all of it. Why? Because if one layer fails, you've got others to back it up. It's also super important to segment your networks. That just means if someone does get in, the damage is contained to one small area instead of spreading like wildfire through your whole organization. And finally, you have to be relentless about vetting every single third-party vendor and app. Think of each one as a potential Trojan horse trying to get inside your walls. But look, all the best tech in the world is only half the battle. Your human firewall, your people, is just as critical, if not more so. This means you've got to be doing regular training specifically on how to spot deepfakes. It means having crystal clear policies on everything, from what people do on their mobile devices to how money gets approved. And that last one, that is a big one. Any request for a fund transfer, especially an unusual one, should always require verification through a totally separate channel. I'm talking an in-person chat or a phone call to a number that you look up yourself, not one they give you in an email. But let's be realistic. Even with the best fortress in the world, sometimes the walls get breached. So what do you do when that worst-case scenario actually happens? You can't panic. You need a calm, clear emergency plan that you can put into action immediately. From the second you suspect you've been hit, the clock is officially ticking. You have to move fast. Leadership needs to be asking the tough questions right away. How did this happen? Was anyone on the inside involved? And, maybe most importantly, which one of our security measures failed us? And here's a simple 4-step playbook based on guidance from PwC. First, isolate. You gotta stop the bleeding. Cut off the affected systems immediately. Second, investigate. Figure out exactly what happened and how bad the damage is. Third, remediate. That means getting the threat out of your system and patching the hole they used to get in. And finally, step 4, recover and learn. Get your operations back online, and then, and this is so crucial, learn from what happened to make absolutely sure it never ever happens again. And all of this really brings us to one final critical question. You can have the latest tech. Your policies can be perfectly written and sitting in a binder on a shelf. But is your team, are your people really ready for this new face of fraud? When a deepfake of their boss calls them, heart pounding, asking for an urgent wire transfer, what will they do? That's really the question to think about.